Yeah, really just one in the pass pro where he didn't track the three technique. Thought three technique was looping wide and got his eyes back inside. Um, uh, yeah, the rest of the game he acquitted himself very well. Everybody on the offensive line. It was a memorable game for offensive linemen in this game. Uh, the other thing I was really impressed with the offensive line, our whole offense, was the amount of hustle they had. There was an early run with Karan, and Caesar got up off the ground and was sprinting in pursuit. Mason Cole was sprinting in pursuit. It was a memorable game in terms of the effort and the hustle and the pursuit by the offense. The line, the receivers, the way they blocked. Donovan had one of those decleaters in the game. Eddie McDoom had his most physical game in terms of blocking. Nate Shanley was very effective as well. And there was no loafs in the receiver group. You could say there wasn't a lot of opportunity to catch passes, but their gray undershirts were still sweaty. They were really working hard to get the team the victory, and it showed up in a lot of areas. Showed up defensively. The hustle showed up on special teams, and there was really good play that way. Caesar was right in there. I mean, just looked athletic. Getting up and chasing our backs down the field and trying to get in on the action and get the blocks. So very impressive.
Over on your right here, Coach Kevin.
Now that you got a chance to watch the film and go back and reevaluate, how do you think Brandon handled his first start? Everything involved. Obviously, he wasn't asked to throw a lot, but with everything involved, how do you think he handled things?
Very well. He was very effective in the first drive, and there was two throws he should have hit that came up short, and it was my feeling after the game that got to keep him more loose during the game, and had a screen pass that could have gone really big, but it was a one time we had three offensive linemen that not one of them picked up a block, and I think it was a screen to Chris Evans that should have gone, should have really busted out. But good. Could have hit a couple more, and but nothing close to an interception. Nothing close to turning the ball over. Even though he took some big shots in the pocket, thought he held onto the ball well and did the things to keep us from losing the ball game. Did the things to help us win the ball game, and know he can execute all throws. So feel good going forward.
Directly in the middle, Casey.
Look at Karan Higgins' performance. Just what kind of running back does he remind you of that you've seen over the years?
Well, I think that the most impressive thing right now about Karan is a 200-yard game this week. He had a 200-yard game against Indiana. He's scoring touchdowns. He's gaining yards, getting yards after contact, and doing it in Big Ten games. I see a lot of times backs, they compile stats when they're out of conference, but to me, those statistics, what takes place in conference, is a bigger indicator. And Chris, both had huge games in this ball game. But the reminder question, not coming up with a guy just yet right now.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
In the front there, Nick.
Jim, last week you talked a lot about how you want.
Well, I will say this though. Sorry, let me just go back. Been around a lot of great backs. I mean, Frank Gore and Toby Gerhart, Stephon Taylor, Kendall Hunter, a bunch of really good. Played with Marshall Faulk. Played with Jamie Morris and was a kid watching Harlan Huckabee and Gordy Bell and Rob Lytle and all those guys. And never can I remember being associated on a team where backs had as many 50-yard plus runs as we had in this one ball game. or 47, count that one. I mean, there's 4 or 5 long runs, and the backs were impressive thing to me about the 2 backs in this game was they were making people miss inside the box. And when you have low safeties that are getting down to linebacker depth, by the time the backs have crossed the line of scrimmage, there's going to be somebody unblocked. You have 11 on offense, 11 on defense. Take the quarterback out because he's handing off. He can't block anybody, and the back himself can't block anybody. So that's really 9 blocking 11. So somebody's going to have – the back's going to have to make somebody miss to come out clean. And they were making people miss inside, making the linebacker miss, or getting to the soft shoulder and running through the arm tackle and then bouncing. But our backs are doing a really good job right now of not just bouncing. There's a time to bounce. There is always a time to bounce. But initially, they were getting those long runs because they were making people miss inside and then bouncing. Very impressive.
Nick?
It seemed like the box score has shorted Khalid a couple TFLs. What did you guys see from him overall? And speaking of stuff you haven't seen before, the 8th game, I guess, is what he's fared for now.
8 TFLs, 3 sacks, 15 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and could have been 2 blocked punts. He was everywhere. He was. You don't see that every day. The kind of performance that number 7 had. It was outstanding, and there was other great performances as well. Khalid was a shining star.
And last week you talked about you wanted to see how Brandon handled being the starter in practice, handled his week of practice. Do you like what you've seen from him from a day-to-day standpoint, consistency-wise, to say that you're comfortable with him as your starter now going forward here?
Yes. Brandon will be the starter again this week, God willing, and the creek don't rise. He'll be starting the game. He had an excellent week of practice. Put a real exclamation point on the ball game that he had last week, and great to see him start and the team to get the win. That's 3 quarterbacks on our ball club that have started and won a ball game for us. I think there's a couple others in the country, Maryland another, and Houston. So we're one of 3 clubs that have done that. But we feel like onward.
Stay on the left there, Ryan.
Coach, how has Wilton been progressing? Is there a chance he could return to the field pretty soon?
Yes, there is. I think there's more second opinions to be had, but I know Wilton's really excited about his most recent CAT scan. That I think it's kind of stunned them. Maybe this will sound over the top, but I think some of the doctors are a bit stunned that it's so far along, and he's healing well. Young guys can do that sometimes. They good blood flow throughout their body. Noticed it with and these guys are right there, and they're young and healthy, and he's healing fast.
Come back over to the right here, John.
Coach, you mentioned the wide receiver blocking and so many other positives from Saturday. Is there a key this many weeks in to keep guys doing those things at this time of year?
It's you can't motivate the unmotivated, and we have players that are self-starters and willing to motivate themselves because they want to do well. But it was at a high level. This ball game, the way look at kickoff coverage, and guys are running down there. Ben Mason, had maybe one of their best hits of the ball game. I'm their best special teams player, and there was examples, throughout. Defensive line all graded out in a winning performance, and they were knocking them back. And there was one span where Minnesota had 135 yards total yardage, and then 15 minutes, 20 minutes later in the game, they had lost 20. It was down to 95 or so there was impressive things. Secondary covered well, tackled good, made good adjustments. Good team win.
Back right, Adam.
Jim, after the Rutgers game, Patrick Kugler was saying that the offensive line, they'd heard the chatter that the O-line maybe wasn't consistent all year. He said they took it upon themselves to win that game. Looks like they had kind of similar will this past weekend. What are the major changes you've noticed with the offensive line this past couple weeks?
Improvement, just it's improving in precision and timing and strain and hustle. Always felt the improvement leads to success. Theory.
What's a guy like Steven at Spinoza?
Very physical player, very smart player, highly motivated player. Very, very sharp and focused. And he's a guy who's really changed his body over the last year. I mean, some do, some don't. But the ones that are really motivated do. And I know they call Ben Mason Bench Mason. I mean, I'd take that as a compliment. If I was Ben Mason, it warms the cockles of my heart to hear that. And Steven Spinellis, though he doesn't have a nickname, I mean, he has done a fabulous job in the weight room.
In the middle, Casey.
Quinn Nordine, have you talked to him about what improvements are you making with his kicking game?
We'll work on that this week. Talked about it after the game. What we saw as coaches was he picked his head up too early and got his left side ahead of the right, out of sync, and pulled the ball to the left.
Got time for about two more. Come to the left, Aaron.
You were without Ty Isaac, Grant Perry, Michael Avenenu, and Tyrone Healy. Do you anticipate having them back Saturday, or what's the plan?
Yeah, there's a very good chance. That all could be back Saturday, but questionable.
Nick, you're good. You got it. Angelique, did you have something? No. Chris.
If Wilton comes back healthy, do you open up the quarterback competition as he returns as the starter, or is that an ongoing competition?
Pardon me?
With Wilton, if he comes back healthy, is that an ongoing competition then within Brandon, or have you kind of made Brandon the starter for the rest of the way?
As we said, always, I mean, once somebody's back, that's when we'd address that. Back out there practicing and competing.
Can he be back to practice this week, or he has to get another scan? Is it today?
There'll be things he'll be able to do.
Okay.
Isn't cleared for contact, but cleared to do some throwing and exercises.
We saw Nico Collins go out of the game. Do you have any status update on him?
No.
Last question, Adam.
Jim, back to the offensive line. Is this more of a, you mentioned the improvement with the offensive line. Is this a rhythm thing with offensive line running backs, or is this running backs are benefiting from the offensive line, or the running backs just picking it up more? How is this flow going? Is this a lot to do with the offensive line success on the ground?
Yes, it does have a lot to do with the offensive line, the backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends, quarterbacks. I mean, it's all 11. Improvement, the precision. Back when you were asking, where does this go? How do you get better? I mean, talked at length about, it's all 11.
Do you feel like there's some rhythm there now?
Yeah, I think we've improved, and we'll continue to strive to, see how good we can get.